What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the top 5 best builds in last Epoch Season 2. So we have 5 builds, one for each class, that will bring you from the start all the way to the end game. And overall I will give you a quick overview of each setup, then I will explain what skills and passive should you use, then also what and how to get the best equipment and bonus stats and much more. So moving over to the first one, which is the Acolyte leveling build. For the fastest leveling and progression, we will use the Warlock Mastery. But remember that for your endgame build, you can respec and then switch to your full endgame setup at any moment. So this build's main gameplay is to drain life with the Rip Blood, while Wandering Spirits will torment enemies from the shadows. Around level 20, the build taps into the full Warlock potential by summoning Chaotic Fissure and launching waves of Chaos Bolts. Then Chance Plant skill will allow for instant repositioning, which helps us to stay mobile and avoid danger. Also, our survival hinges on the stacking ward per second and increasing your ward decay threshold, which is then further supported by the health and capped physical resistance. This build really comes alive once you're fully stacking curses and damage over time effects, while flooding the screen with the Chaos Bolts. This is for sure one of the fastest and most fun playstyles to use from level 1 until level 70. Then as far as our skill tree goes, we will use the Rip Blood with these type of points allocated. Then next we have Infernal Shade. Then next we got the Spirit Plague. Then also we have the Chaotic Fissure. And finally we're using the Chaos Bolts. But on our skill bar we got the Infernal Shade, then the Chance Plant, then Chaos Bolts, then Spirit Plague, and then the Chaotic Fissure. Next, let's take a look at our passives, and this is how it should look like for the Acolyte category. And then this is how it should look like in the Warlock category. And now finally we got our equipment. So for the hit we got the Coven Hat with the modifiers like the Intelligence, more levels of Rip Blood and ward per second. Next we have Brass Amulet with the fire penetration, increased damage over time and the ward per second. Then for weapon we got the Spriggan Branch with increased spell damage, increased damage over time and chance to apply blind. Next we got the Covent Robe with a chance to apply damned, more levels to Chaotic Fissure and ward per second. Then also we got an offhand called the Runestone with increased cast speed, increased damage over time and ward per second. Then for rings we got two of the same ones, which are the Sapphire Ring with increased damage over time, physical resistance and ward per second. Then for belt we got the Noble Stash with ward gain on potion use, increased mana regen and health. Then also we got the Noble Gloves with increased cast speed, health and physical resistance. Then for boots we got the Hawborn Boots with increased movement speed, intelligence and increased cooldown recovery. And lastly for relic we're using the Cursed Bones with increased damage over time, health and physical resistance. Next up we got the best mage leveling build. For the fastest progression we will use the Spellblade Mastery, but of course remember that for your endgame build you can respec. So this setup is a very powerful mage that kicks things off with the fireballs to carry you through the early stages. But things quickly will switch towards the cold damage as you transition into Glacier, which at later levels will get you to your main ability, the Shatter Strike. This build will hit a whole new level once you equip the Gemini, which enables dual wielding and unlocking Shatter Strike's explosive power. For gameplay we will use the Teleport to dart around the battlefield, then switch to the Surge later for a big boost in ward generation. And once you hit level 35, keep the enchantment weapon active for a steady damage increase, and turn to Mana Strike whenever you need to refill your mana pool. Defensively, you will prioritize the ward per second, build up your health and max out physical resistance. And at the moment that you start dual wielding the Shattering Strike, then this build truly comes into its own, because everything will speed up, so you will be tearing through the zones in no time. It is easily one of the quickest and most enjoyable ways to level a mage. Then as far as our skill tree goes, we will use Enchant Weapon with these type of points allocated. Next we have the Mana Strike. Next we got Shatter Strike. Then also we have the Flame Ward, and finally we're using Surge. And on our skill board, this time we're using the same exact abilities. Next, let's take a look at our passives, and this is how it should look like in the Mage category. Then also we have the Spellblade, and this is how it should look like in the Rune Master category. And now finally we got our equipment. So for the head we're using the Temple Veil with intelligence, health and ward per second. Then second of all we have the Jade Amulet with increased cold damage, health and ward per second. Then also we got the Imperial Staff with increased cold damage, increased spell damage and chance to apply blind on hit. Then for chest we got the Adapt Robe with intelligence, health and ward per second. Then also we're using two same type of gold rings with increased mana regen regen, health and ward per second. Next we have the Noble Stash with increased mana regen, health and physical resistance. Next we got Noble Gloves with increased melee attack speed, health and physical resistance. Then for shoes we got the Brigadine Boots with increased movement speed, health and physical resistance. And finally for relic we got the Silver Grail with increased mana regen, health and physical resistance. Then for third setup we got the Sentinel leveling build. For the fastest progression we will use Paladin Mastery, but remember that for your endgame build you can respec. So this setup is an insane melee damage machine, which starts its progression by utilizing the Vengeance, but then it's quickly swapped out for the Hammer Throw to clear enemies from a distance. As you progress you transition into Rive, which conveniently will trigger a healing hand for reliable sustain. The build steadily evolves with the Divine Might of Javelin, which eventually culminates into explosive area damage and restorative power of judgment skill. Then as far as mobility goes, we will use Lunge to keep our momentum going and enabling us to dive into fights or escape danger quickly. As you level up, Multi-Strike steps in to help with resource management and sustain, while the Holy Aura delivers potent buffs, which especially is helpful in boss encounters. However, on defense you're built like a fortress, so we will start with the health regen until Healing Hands takes the lead, and then we focus on stacking health, capping physical resistance, and later boosting your block chance through the Paladin tree. The build will fully reach its potential once the Judgment becomes your primary source of damage, because it offers a perfect balance of offense and survivability. It is one of the most fluid and rewarding ways to level a Sentinel, which makes the campaign feel like a walk in the park. Then as far as skill tree goes, we will use the Multi-Strike with these type of points allocated. Then next we have Healing Hands. Then also we got the Judgment. Then we have the Symbols of Hope. And finally we're using the Holy Aura. And on our skill bar, this time we're using the Holy Aura, then Lunge, Symbols of Hope, Judgment and the Multi-Strike. Next let's take a look at our passives, and this is how it look like in the Sentinel category. Then also we have the Forge Guard, and then this is how it look like in the Paladin category. And now finally we got our equipment. So for the head we got the Spiked Helm with modifiers like more levels of all Healing Hands, more health and physical resistance. Then also we got the Jade Amulet with increased fire damage, increased damage over time and health. Next for weapon we're using the Ordnance Scepter with increased melee attack speed, increased damage over time and chance to apply chill on hit. Then for chest we got the Forge Plate with more levels of River, more to health and physical resistance. Then also we got an offhand called the Tower Shield with a block chance, increased healing effectiveness and health. Then for rings we got the same two ones, which is the Silver Ring with increased healing effectiveness, increased damage over time and health. Then for belt we got the Chain Belt with increased fire damage, health and increased cooldown recovery. Then for hands we got the Outcast Gloves with increased melee attack speed, increased damage over time and chance to apply frailty. Then for shoes we got the Brigadine Boots with increased movement speed, health and increased cooldown recovery. And lastly for relic we got the Mournful Pennant with increased healing effectiveness, more levels of javelin and increased health. Then for one of the last ones we got the Primalist leveling build. For the fastest progression you will use the Druid Mastery, but remember that for your endgame build you can respec. So this setup will transform you into a bear that shreds enemies in seconds, and create storms that further boost our DPS output to the max. We'll start things off with a straightforward combo of the Swipe and summon Torn Totem to cruise through the early game, and then as you level up, swapping to the Tempest Strike will amp up your damage, and then before long, Tornado becomes your go-to for tearing through the enemies at range. However, the real power spike will come when you invest into Unending Storm within the Bear form tree, because suddenly you become a lightning-fueled beast, tearing across the battlefield and obliterating everything in the sight. Once Warcry is unlocked, keep it on cooldown to benefit from its strong buffs. Early survivability is not much of a concern, so just focus on health regen at first, then stack up health and cap physical resistance. The build hit its strive once you are starting to shift into the Werebear form, to unleash a massive damage and a stormy destruction. This is easily one of the most chilling and effective ways to level a Primalist, by turning every fight into chaotic electrified rampage. Then as far as skill tree goes, we will use Gathering Storm with these type of points allocated. Then next we have Tornado. Then next we got the Werebear form. Then also we have the Warcry. And finally we are using Maelstrom. And on our skill bar, this time we are using the Werebear form, Fury Leap, Warcry, Tornado and Gathering Storm. Next, let's take a look at our passives, and this is how it should look like in the Primalist category. Then also we have the Shaman. Then on top of this, we got the Beastmaster category. And then this is how it should look like in the Druid category. And now finally we got equipment. So for the head we're using the Raptor helm, with attunement, vitality, health and physical resistance. Then for amulet we got the copper amulet with increased spell damage, increased mana regen, chance to apply shred armor on hit and ward per second. Next for weapon we got the two-handed imperial staff with increased lightning damage, increased spell damage, chance to apply poison on hit and also chance to apply ignite on hit. Next for the chest we got the Chitin carapace with vitality, more levels of Gathering Storm, more health and physical resistance. Then for rings we got the same ones, which is the silver ring with increased spell damage, increased mana regen, more health and ward per second. Then for belt we got the noble sash with increased lightning damage, more 2 potion slots, more health and increased cooldown recovery. Then for hands we got the Avery gloves with percentage of elemental damage is now leached as health. Then even more increased leech rate and elemental resistance. Then for shoes we got the Bragadan boots with increased movement speed, more vitality, more health and increased cooldown recovery speed. And lastly for relic we got the living seed with increased mana regen, more attunement, more health and physical resistance. And now for the last and final one, we got the best rogue leveling build. And for the fastest progression, we will use the Falconer Mastery. But remember that for your endgame build, you can respec. So the setup is a quick and agile assassin that can speedrun through the campaign like a ghost. You will start your adventure with the rapid flurry attacks, and then the toxic burst of acid flasks, which makes early encounters super easy. Soon after, you will switch to the puncture for solid range pressure. And at level 16, things will take off when you unlock the Umbral Blades. Combined with your trusty Falcon, this marks a major leap into your clear speed and overall power. You will want to use the shift regularly to stay mobile and agile, then upgrade it to the aerial assault for added utility and synergy with your Falcon. For sustain, rely on melee damage leached as health from your gear. And defensively, you want to focus on health regen in the early game, then stack flat health and max out your physical resistance to make the campaign feel smooth and quick. Overall, our build really shines once you're dual wielding solid daggers and synchronizing your blade throws with the Falcon strikes. It is for sure one of the most fluid, high speed and enjoyable ways to level a rogue, by turning every fight into a display of agility and destruction. Then as far as our skill tree goes, we will use Umbral Blades with this type of points allocated. Then next we have Aerial Assault, then next we got the Smoke Bomb, then also we got Falconry, and finally we're using the Dive Bomb. And on our skill bar, this time we're using the same exact abilities. Next let's take a look at our passives, and this is how it should look like in the Rogue category. Then also we have the Blade Dancer, and then this is how it should look like in the Falconer category. And now finally we got our equipment. So for the head we're using Exile Hat with modifiers like Vitality, Health and Health Regen. Then we got the Jade Amulet with critical strike multiplier, health, ward per second and more toward decay threshold. Then for weapon we got the Chris Dagger pair with critical strike multiplier, increased physical damage and chance to apply shred armor on hit. Then for chest we're using the Brigadine armor with vitality, health and increased health regen. Then for rings we got the two same ones, which are the gold rings with increased throwing attack speed, health and ward per second. Then for belt we have the plate belt with ward gained on potion use, increased cooldown recovery and more to health. Then on hands we're using the plated gauntlets with melee damage leech as life, increased throwing attack speed and chance to apply a frailty on hit. Then for shoes we got the Hoboran boots with increased movement speed, more health and increased cooldown recovery speed. And finally for relic we got the Weathered coins with critical strike multiplier, more health and physical resistance. So let me know what you think about these builds in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, then you definitely don't want to miss my previous best builds tier list video, where I showed even more powerful builds in last Epoch. So click the screen now and I'll see you in the next one.